Shalom, friends. Do you do a lot of thinking? I hope the answer is yes. After all, thinking is good for you. Thinking is human. Thinking is close to divine. But at times, thinking is a distraction. Let me share with you a story, and the lesson will be obvious. I tell of a man who once invested a lot of money in buying a bunch of stallions. So he brings his two beautiful horses, puts it into the barn, and realizes that such an expensive investment needs a guard. After all, in the middle of the night, all someone has to do is actually open up the barn and walk away with the horses. So he hired a watchman. He explains to the watchman what he has to do, which is something quite simple. Stand outside the barn and keep walking around the barn and come again to the front, and just to make sure that the horses stay. That's all he has to do. Any sign, he should blow a whistle and help will come immediately. So the watchman says, I got it, I understand, and don't worry, you can rely on me. And the rich man goes home, has dinner, and is thinking to himself, the watchman said that he would be on top of it, but I'm wondering if he's the type of a guy that just falls asleep. Maybe I should try him. So a little bit later, somewhere around 10, 11 o'clock at night, he decides to go visit the watchman. And as he's walking towards the watchman, he sees the watchman walking slowly around the barn. He's very pleased. And he stops and says, "Watchman, I'm very pleased to see you're at your job. Tell me, how do you manage to stay up?" He says, "Well, my mind is fertile. I think a lot, and that keeps me up." The owner of these expensive horses was quite intrigued, and he says, "Tell me, for example, what do you think about?" And he says, "Well, I was thinking, when a person eats the bagel, where does the hole go?" He looks at the watchman. Such a profound question. This actually keeps him up at night, and he says, "Well, good luck on trying to figure out that riddle," and he goes to bed. Well, sleeps for a couple of hours, wakes up, it's around 4 in the morning, it's very still outside. In fact, it's too still outside, and his first thought is, the watchman must have fallen asleep. Quickly he dresses, runs downstairs, and he sees the watchman, his eyes wide open, in front of the barn, and he's very much awake. And he walks over, "Watchman, I'm so pleased to see that you're doing your job. How did you manage to stay up so late?" He says, "Well, I told you, I think a lot." He said, "Are you still thinking about the hole in the bagel?" He says, "No. But I had a different question that I've been pondering. When you hammer in a nail into wood, where does the wood go?" And the owner thinks, he says, "I really never thought about these questions. They're really very deep questions. Well, I'm glad that you're highly intelligent and you're thinking and it keeps you up." He goes upstairs and sleeps the sleep of the just, very confident that the watchman is doing his job. When he woke up, the sun was already shining. He took a leisurely breakfast, walks outside. The watchman is still in the same position. His eyes are open. He's very much awake. But to his horror, the owner of the horses notices that the barn door is open. He quickly runs inside, sees an empty stall, runs over to the watchman and shakes him fiercely. He says, "Mr. Watchman, do you know what's happening? Where are my horses?" He says, "That's exactly what I'm thinking about. Here I was an entire night in front of the barn thinking, and the horses should be there, but they're not. Where are the horses?" So friends, thinking is good. But when it comes at the expense of what you're supposed to be doing, it's a distraction. So how much time have you given thought to, for example, I'm going to spend more time with my family? I've been thinking a lot about this. I really should slow down and spend more time with my family. How many times have you had that thought? Oh, many times. I'm always thinking about it. No. So How many more hours a week have you invested into your family? Or how about the person saying, I'm thinking about God. Yeah, I was thinking about my grandpa. He was more religious. I'm thinking of maybe following some of the traditions. That's a beautiful thought. No. So what's taking so long? At times thinking is nothing more than the first step to action. Lo ha-medrash ikar, the Talmud tells us it's not really the thinking or the expounding. Ha-ma'aseh, action is really what counts. So instead of just thinking to improve the world, why don't you go outside and give some charity? And instead of thinking of getting closer to God, open up a holy book. And instead of thinking of showing respect to your mom, give her a call. Let's hope and pray that each and every good thought will lead to a good action, and good actions will lead to a transformation of the within and the without as well. Shalom.